Hello, and welcome to another episode of the MiamiHal Real Estate Show. Hab's saying hello to everybody. I'm saying hello to everyone. Hab is my regular guest. He is also at RE/MAX Advance Realty.
I am.
And we have different perspectives because we look at the market a little different. We work in different areas. But ultimately, what you get as an audience member is perspective.
And confusion on my side.
Okay, maybe some confusion too. I wanted to start off the show with something that you probably heard several months ago in the media. Mm-hmm. And it was an interesting take by the media as to what's ultimately happening. And you don't even need to know why it happened and all that. What you need to know, particularly if you're a seller, is that all across the country, August 17th is deadline day. And it's really simple. It really affects the communication between agents and not necessarily you as sellers or buyers. But it is important. Yeah. Up until now, commissions have always been negotiable.
Mm-hmm. Always.
Always. And we've seen some trends that people may have misinterpreted mm-hmm. as more than negotiable facts.
Yeah, exactly.
So a settlement in court is doing the following. As of August 17th, across the nation, commissions that are offered by the listing brokerage to a buyer's brokerage are being removed from the MLS. And this is supposed to keep agents and brokers away from steering. That's really what this is about.
Sounds about right.
And so what do I mean by steering? If I'm an agent for a buyer, I'm supposed to find all the properties that match their criteria and make sure that they see all those properties.
Every single one.
Okay. And then they can choose, hey, out of those 10 you just sent me, I want to see these 3.
Right.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
And by the way, the United States is almost unique in this capacity right. in the way they do things, because almost throughout Europe in total, if you want to go buy a house, you go to a brokerage, and the only thing they show you are those brokerages' mm-hmm. homes that are listed. So what's really nice about the U.S. market is that you see everything that's out there mm-hmm. listed, yeah. whether it's from RE/MAX or from any other company.
From wherever it is.
That's the way we get it right. Now, some people, and it's going into effect, believe that what we are doing now will make it more correct. And I can almost see it in 2 directions from here. So anyway, commissions disappear. So Mr. Buyer, mm-hmm. here are the 10 properties. You want to see 3 of them? Let's go.
Let's have at it.
Sounds good, right?
Have at it.
Now, that buyer mm-hmm. more than likely has an agent working for them. And the operative word there that I want to underscore is working for them. Mm-hmm. Up until August 17th, the buyer's agent mm-hmm. would know by looking in the MLS how they would be compensated if that buyer chose that house and closed on that house.
And you closed on that house.
Yeah. And put it out there, typically, not guaranteed, typically that was a 3% of the purchase price commission that went to the buyer's brokerage and therefore the agent.
Any number.
Okay.
But yeah.
Any number. But
Yep.
So now those numbers don't exist.
Nope.
So what is the relationship between the buyer mm-hmm. and their agent now? Because the buyer is now going to be responsible for paying that agent.
Correct. Paying the services of the agent. I
don't know about you, but I don't work for free.
Right. No one does. Yeah.
Right. And when the commission is not outwardly available, the buyer's agent has no clue about what's going on. So the way this is shaken out is, yes, commissions disappear as of August 17th. By the way, I think it's August 10th.
Yeah, 10th or 13th.
For the Miami MLS.
Remember,
system.
It's compensation.
Yes.
So the compensation aspect of it
disappears.
Is now off of the MLS.
Okay.
So we don't know what anybody's offering and what they're offering.
Right. So what we're doing now as a mandatory step is when a buyer wants to work with an agent, mm-hmm. they must sign an agreement saying, hey, I am officially working with you, mm-hmm. and I, not the seller, or the seller's brokerage is going to compensate you.
Right.
I'm doing it as a buyer.
Exactly.
Opens up a whole can of worms, right?
Don't get me started.
Most buyers can barely put together enough money to close with closing costs and all the things that they're responsible for. So how do we make this up? And for the last 3 or 4 months, it's been a little bit of mind games and chaos in those mind games. We're all going to see how rubber meets the road in just a few days.
I'm so much looking forward to it.
As am I. I'm telling you, it's going to be a little bit strange.
It's going to be super fun.
Even if you're a very experienced agent like Hav and I are, it's going to be interesting to see how the market just kind of reacts and churns and figures this out. But there are some things that...
But this being Miami, we will figure it out.
So now I'm going to reverse it. Remember I said this, the belief is that this is going to make things ultimately better for the consumer.
Right.
Now let's do this in reverse. And I do want to point out that, yes, commissions, and I'm
compensation.
No, I'm saying commissions here because it was listed that way. Commissions disappear, and now we're trying to figure out compensation.
Or concessions.
So the commission line, the percentage, is being removed from the MLS. What is being added to our MLS? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
There's going to be 2 fields.
Are there?
And it has nothing to do with the buyer's broker and the listing agent and their brokerage. It has to do with a field that says the seller is willing to provide compensation to the, did I say that right? Sorry. The seller is willing to provide a concession to the buyer. Now think about that. If the buyer has signed an agreement that I'm going to pay my agent 3%, and now there's a concession by the seller that's, and by the way, that field is yes or no, not a percentage. It just says, yes, the seller will provide a concession, or no, they won't. And then there's a second field that says, you may put a concession term in your offer, and I will consider it. So what we've done is we've made it even more confusing. Convoluted is a better word. It's going to be darn convoluted what's happening as we get into this. But by the way, let's play out the scenario. So the buyer signs an agreement with their agent, and they say, I'm going to pay you 3% at closing, and they cross their fingers that the homes that they see will have some level of a concession so they don't have to pay that fee. Okay, so remember, first scenario is, hey, Mr. Seller, here are, sorry, I'm keep confusing. Here, Mr. Buyer, here are 10 properties. Pick the ones you want to go see. Let's go see them. Okay, and the agent was the one that had to deal with the different, I'm going to put the word back in there. At this point, it was commission that they were going to earn. And they were not to say anything to the buyer. They just said, here are the homes, go see them.
Have at it.
Have at it. Now what we're going to end up having to do is remember those 2 new fields. Okay, Mr. Buyer, here are the same 10 properties, because we're after August 17th, let's say. Which ones do you want to go see? And they'll say, I want to see these 3. And now that agent will have to call the other agent and say, what are the concessions that you're willing to make? And then they have to report each of those 3, the 3 homes they wanted to see, back to that buyer and say, listen, on this one, they're going to give you no concession. On this one, they're going to give you 3%. So ultimately, they're paying me nothing. And on this one, they're going to give you 1.5. I'm just giving you three examples. What a mess. Because now that buyer, rather than seeing 3 homes, not caring what the commission or the concession structure is, will sit there and look and go, well, I don't want to pay the 3%.
What can I afford?
I'm on the hook for it. So let me just see that one that's for 3%. Wow. What a big change, right?
You're basically eliminating options for the buyer's agent.
You want to talk about steering? I think we've got a new version of it. So, folks out in the audience, that's what's coming up soon.
It's gonna get exciting.
And we will try to traverse this and help you along. And ultimately, what we want to do, and what almost every realtor out there wants to do, is simply help you as a buyer or seller get a transaction done. We're not in it for eking out certain dollars or certain terms. We're in it to help our customers. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's always been.
I haven't done this in a long time, but if you are watching live and you have a question about what we just talked about, please type it into your social media box. We'll try to get to that.
Yeah.
But the next big topic is Miami, just Miami. And when you mention Miami,
Miami.
Okay, as you say it, Miami.
Miami.
When you mention Miami around the world, all of a sudden, and it's been growing, so I shouldn't say all of a sudden, we are the it place on the globe.
We are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back. We're back happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you hear that, we're the city to come to in the United States for the international community. Are we really talking about everyday man, or are we talking about the wealthy people that go, I want to be in Miami?
I want to park money in Miami. It's that simple.
You know what?
I want to park money in Miami.
I want to park money in Miami. And I just went to a mastermind, okay? Before this show, it was about 2.5 hours, and I sat down with top agents and listened to what they had to talk about with condos, with certain areas of the market, and what was going on. And they were really talking truth numbers, great information I got at that. But at the end of the day, I realized walking out of there, they were talking about the elite. They were talking about the very wealthy and their thought process. And, maybe it's not such a secret, but let me tell you, the elite think very different than us. And I heard it from several of the top agents in that room that are selling $5 to $10 million properties all the time. And what they said is, they don't care what the price is. If they want to be somewhere and they're motivated to do it, the money really is secondary. And I don't know about you, but I certainly can't think that way. I have to think about the finances first, right? I have a certain amount of money. I can't just magically make more. And typically, the average person is looking to spend at the maximum of their budget, right? It's a different world.
You're touching on a very, very interesting topic, because first of all, those types of buyers, this is a commodity. That real estate property is a commodity.
Yes.
It's not a home. It's a commodity.
It's a commodity that they live in sometimes, right?
They do. I mean, but at the same time, it's still, they treat it as a commodity. They're not treating it as your, forever home, or your home that you're going to be here for 10, 15 years. They don't. So they look at it and say, this is an opportunity. This makes sense now. And in 3 years, it won't make any sense. We'll get rid of it. And it's just the way that they roll at that level. So when we're looking and we're talking about these type of clients, that's really the key takeaway that I think agents have to, put out there, the population has to put out there. To them, it's a commodity. To us, it's a home. And it's that simple.
When you talk about it that way, and I think that's a great way to structure it, a commodity. So a lot of what we heard today at this mastermind session was over 5 years. This is what happened. And by the way, the numbers are staggering. In Pinecrest, over 5 years, the average sale price, what do you think happened? By percentage?
It had to, well, I think I would figure it had to triple.
Okay. Actually, it's double.
No, double? Okay.
Double. In 5 years. In Palmetto Bay?
Definitely went to 2.5%. 2.5%. Almost triple. Because I could buy...
You're aggressive. It was higher than Pinecrest, 108%.
Okay.
On average sales price.
Because I could buy homes in Palmetto Bay at $500,000. Now they're 1.25, 1.3.
Yeah. Well, it might be in that, remember, different strata.
Yeah.
So the point is as you said, to the agents that were speakers at that mastermind, and to that community, it's commodity.
Yeah.
And to Joe Sixpack, it's not commodity. No. It's like, how am I going to put a roof over my family's head, put them in a good school district, and live in it? And most of them don't have an expectation of selling it. Like, that's where I'm going to live.
That's why for
the next 10 plus years.
That's why one of the current exodus is folks leaving Miami because of the cost of living, and also just simply because they can get something better elsewhere for their next step in life. And I'm talking about younger generations, maybe somebody that bought a property 6, 7, 8 years ago. expecting that this was going to be a little bit longer term. Then all of a sudden college comes up, kids come up, and the cost of living, and it's not going to get any cheaper. It's going to continue to, as again, I'll talk about this ad nauseum. Real estate taxes, insurance.
Yeah.
Those are your two main costs. It's not even your mortgage anymore. I don't care if the mortgage rate's 7%. You can make that work. It's your insurance and your real estate tax.
Because those will go up. Whatever interest rate you get, that's it.
But the other two, are going up. It's not
there's
that
not an up or down. It's up.
It's up. It's up and it's up, and it could go up anywhere from X amount of percent. There is no limit, only on the residential from a homestead exemption, but your insurance rates will go through the roof. And there's a lot of, as you know, I'm involved in the, how shall we say, the political field, and there is no stopping that.
Okay.
You're not going to stop that.
Here is something that really struck me, and it was a minor point during this mastermind, but it really kind of struck home. One of the agents said they grew up in a home, their parents bought it in 1978 for $78,000. That's why I remembered 78.
Right.
1978, $78,000. This was in Palmetto Bay.
My parents bought in Shannon, what would be considered a little bit off of Silver Bluff off the Gables for $37,500.
Okay.
And I still own that property.
So 46 years later, if I did my math correct, that's 46 years later today. What is that $78,000 home worth now?
How many bedrooms and baths? I need to know. I need some details.
Okay.
At least
they didn't share those.
$1,000,000.
It's $1.5 million.
$1.5 million. So think about it. So you had a dead time of space. All right. So
when you say a dead time of space, let's go in.
Now we're going to
46 years.
All right. So 46 years ago, they bought it in 1978. They did nothing with that property. No value, no increases, no nothing.
They probably no additions.
No, but I'm just talking about value interest. So by the time they got to 1990, let's say 5, right after Andrew, 1995, let's say that property probably went up. Oh, in 78, it was probably worth maybe 178. Give it or take. So it went up $100,000. Then what happened in 1999? Now, I'll argue this point, man, to the very, very end. What happened in 1999? A law was passed that when you sell a house that you've lived in for 2 out of 5 years, that's tax-free money. So what did residential real estate become before it was a long-term investment? 1978 to 1998.
Right.
Then in 1999, it became a 2-year investment. Boop, 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 boop. And that's when you've had your highest increase in the last 20 years. You had your highest increases in all properties throughout the United States. Because
so you're telling me government created this?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I'm going to go back to, I think it was February.
And they also caused it with the Save Our Homes, with the 3% homestead tax.
Yeah.
And that upped your rental market. Every action has a reaction, especially in our market. So everybody that bitches and moans and complains about affordability in Miami-Dade County, it was caused by these actions. And everybody loves them, because who doesn't like to score $500,000 and walk away with it?
Of course. But then they have to find another place to live, and it's more expensive.
But they can find it somewhere else.
They can,
and it's
if
still
you
the
want
same
the exodus
deal.
to happen.
It's the same deal, though. It's still the same $500 or $500,000 that I'm making.
Yes, your money is the same here or in Georgia or
and then the other
Colorado.
exodus. I know that everybody says that it was COVID. No, it was the tax cut of Trump's tax cut in 2017, 2018 that gave you 25 or 35 grand, whatever, of your deductible, and all of a sudden that also increased, and that's when people started to come down here even more.
Now, when you say people, let's extrapolate. Okay, let's extrapolate, because what we hear is that during COVID and during that tax cut, that's when we saw the influx from New York City, and the metro areas in the Northeast,
living in Palmetto Bay, bro.
and in California. That's what I want to talk about.
They're not living there.
Where did those people
They moved into, they drove the Coconut Grove market, they drove the Coral Gables, the Miami Beach market.
Coconut Grove has the highest increases in 5 years out of all the areas.
Absolutely. Yeah. I live there, I know.
Yeah. It's good for you, right?
Yeah.
Are you going anywhere?
No.
Okay.
Where am I going? So
who moved in next to you? Was it the elite or was it the everyman?
So it's somebody that had a lot of money from the outside. So here's the thing. My property next door to me sold 3 times. in a year and a half.
What?
3 times. Sold for 2.2, went to 2.8, and then ended up being a 3.2 or some crazy ass number. And it's just, it was a brand. So we go back to, people are lemmings. Is that the word? Lemmings. And not lemons, but lemmings. So
we don't make lemonade out of
exactly.
people.
So my best friend, the Pinecrest News, lives here. And then everybody that knows that person goes here. So where did Citadel move? Coconut Grove. You know, where did all of the big hitters move? Coconut Grove. So if you're a big hitter, what do you want to do? Because the only thing left on you, man, is ego. Not money. Now it's ego. So my boy lives here. I got to live here. And that is a reality. That is a social reality.
So
and it doesn't matter whatever. When you came over, if you were an immigrant 30, 50, whatever years ago, I'll use Cubans. So where did we go? Little Havana. Because that was where you went.
Yeah.
Bronx, you could probably say something different, but that's where everybody went. And then you had this mass exodus to Kendall. And again, I've been here a long, long time, so I've seen these movements, and it is just a fact of life.
Now, you said an exodus to Kendall because things got too expensive around.
It was cheaper to get bigger out there.
Right, so, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it wasn't because it was price point. No, you wanted bigger. So that was the other thing, too, that we talked about, too, is why do you move? What are the reasons normal people move?
It's either the expansion or the contraction of their family, their immediate nuclear family.
Or your job.
Have
you get
new
a job
kids, or the kids are off to college and done.
And then you get a job, or you get a job offer outside of the area. That is
that's what motivates people.
So then, or unfortunately, life or death. So those are your big things: divorces, anything like that. So you have maybe 3 or 4. That's our normal lives. The elites, the rich, that level. Commodity.
Okay.
I want to try Miami for a week until you get a damn hurricane up your butt, and then you say, "Whoa,
maybe I don't want Miami.
This Miami ain't that good anymore." So we'll see.
So again, Mastermind talks about the incredible.
Mastermind always reminds me of those little. What is those little guys? Not the gremlins, but the little
minions.
The minions. Every time you say Mastermind, I'm thinking little minions.
I'll stop saying
running around. Yeah, please do, because I'm going to say minions every time you say Mastermind.
Okay, actually,
I think some questions.
Do we have one? Can you read them?
Welcome back, George. Thanks for the shout out.
All right. So no questions yet, but thanks, George. We appreciate the fact that we've got viewers and they pay attention to almost every episode. I see George out there, which is great. So they talked about the last 5 years and the incredible wealth that's been brought to Miami-Dade County.
And the tax base. You had the mayor here, right?
It did.
Did she reduce any taxes this time?
By millage rate, yes.
Yeah, but...
Okay, let's leave politics out of this. Okay, 5 years prior, right? And now they're prognosticating at this meeting, because I'm not going to say
minions.
Okay, you said it. For the next 5 years, do you know what most of those agents said and truly believe? The same level of increase will happen over the next 5 years. Okay,
there's no way.
So that's what I'm trying to digest what I heard today, and a lot of it was great factual information. So I got a very good picture of what has happened to us in transformation mode up until today. Now, everything that was said is with a lot of very smart people, but they're looking up to 5 years forward and telling me things that just don't digest for me. What do you think happens over the next 5 years? Because I know one of your big things is there's no more land, so things are going to go up.
Things will stabilize and be well, but again, we go back to what do these buyers, these type of buyers from a commodity standpoint are looking for? So are you building more condominiums? Are you building more?
Please no, there's way too many.
But it's to park money. And they're not parking money in a residential neighborhood such as Pinecrest or Palmetto Bay or Cutler Bay or anything like that. Those
parking in condos.
They're parking it in condos, something that they can actually use quickly. They don't have to maintain it. They don't have to look at it. So they can come and go from it. So when you look at that now, here's the thing too. How shall we say this? Agents, high-end agents, must maintain that status quo that everything is always going to go up. Because they live and die on that.
I absolutely believe that.
So
do you believe that they believe
no
that when they say something, they can make it happen.
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I got that sense in the meeting today.
Remember, real estate has always been about self-promotion. It goes back to the 20s when we were created by George Merrick and the Gables and Fisher and all of them. They were self-promoters. They were self-believers in what the product that they were putting out there. So have you ever heard a developer say that the market's going to go bad?
No.
Never will, because it goes against their best interest.
Well, that I understand.
This is the same thing.
But okay.
These are the same folks, but no. And again, yes, our price. So using Palmetto Bay recently. So Palmetto Bay had a hit, a kind of a little push, all right? And then all of a sudden it kind of stagnated. And it's kind of settled down. Where we were trying to be able to push properties of 3.2 or 4.2, we were getting, let's say 1. Let's say we started 3 or 4 years ago at 7, went to 8, 9, 10, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Then we got to a 1.4, and then it was like, that was intolerable. Started to come down 1.3, 1.2, 1.1, where it should have been.
Okay.
So
you're seeing that the market has reacted.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a bubble burst.
No.
But we definitely saw a reality check. Okay.
I can list for whatever number. I can list for $2 million. I ain't going to get it, but I can list it. I just saw a listing the other day at $2.2 million that isn't worth 1.5, and it's sitting, and it'll sit, and it won't go anywhere. So is it a bubble burst? No. It's just your price doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Justify it to me. Justify it to me why this property is worth $1,200 a square foot when the rest of the neighborhood is $750.
Right. Well, there is no justification. But in one homeowner's eyes, there is. I'll give you a microcosm of that. I do a lot of work at the Reserve of Pinecrest, which is a condominium complex in, as you might guess, Pinecrest. And there's been one seller there for 4+ years that has priced their place at $1.2 million. And it's not going to sell. No. It just isn't. And in fact, just recently it was taken off the market yet again.
Yep.
But
you can change agents, you can do whatever you want. Right. There's no magic bullet. It's a price point.
The issue becomes one of perception. Yeah. Because I've listed and sold 6 units while that one sat at 1.2. Yeah. Listed and sold. And almost all the time I'll go for the listing appointment and say, here are the numbers. This is the factual evidence of what has sold here. This is where I think you need to list in order to get a sale effected. And all of them, almost all of them said, yeah, but that's listed for 1.2. Yeah, why aren't we asking that? And I said, well, at the time it was different times, but do you want to be on the market for 4 years?
Yeah.
It's that simple. If you're not going to be the best thing on the market, you're going to sit for a while. And in fact, the average, and I'm doing a quick blend here, of all the areas that are south of downtown through Palmetto Bay is really what we focused on today. Average days on market is somewhere around 220 days on market now. What was it during the pandemic? Like 6?
Yeah, not that.
But people are getting antsy.
Yeah, but then it just shows you that every market will do this. Doesn't matter what market you go here, you go here, you go here, and it gets to a point where there is no tolerance for that price point. Yeah, you'll get an off ball, and not everybody hangs their hat on that crazy sale, which you know nothing about or how it happened or what it involves. But there is a trend that will tell you, and you'll get to a point where that neighborhood doesn't value simply because you can probably go to another neighborhood and get better for less or the same for less. And then you start to move over. Miami Springs was a good example of that. So you have other neighborhoods that will then say, okay, if I'm shopping here, at this point, it doesn't appear to be that, not like in the old days, and we're talking old days, you had people that wanted to live in Coral Gables or Coconut Grove, and you couldn't move them. Now you can. You can move them all over the place, except those super elite people that are just basically following their, buddies. But that is where you're at. That's where we're at, and that's a typical, normal real estate market. Forget about these guys. These guys play at a different level, and
forget the elites.
It's a commodity, guys. It's a commodity. Okay. It's not a house. They don't care about it. They don't even live in it half the damn time.
Always a pleasure to get the perspective.
A pleasure to be here.
I'm going to leave you with one thing that was just announced to our office. So Remax Advance Realty is one of the largest offices. Actually, we have multiple offices, but as a group, we're one of the largest down here in South Florida. And we are now going to be launching shortly a RE/MAX luxury office. Were you aware?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
No.
So when your house meets certain criteria, it will automatically go into our luxury division and will be taken care of in a different way, showing once again there is the elites and the rest of us.
There's those with the speed passes at Disney World and those that don't have the speed pass.
Amazing.
It is a crazy situation.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, it's a crazy
Disney,
situation.
You want the speed pass or not?
Exactly. There you go.
Until next week, have a great week in real estate. Thanks, Hal.
It's always a pleasure. Be good. Bye.